Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. Today I got a little bit of a different video for you guys. We're, as you probably already see, doing another one of those tier list videos. And as usual, I'm not alone today because if I'm doing one of these, I want to have a little discussion. And my guest today is SkuffD. SkuffD.
Hello, 'tis I.
If you don't know who this is, then you'll probably be living under a rock because SkuffD is probably like the OG of the Horus Heresy Legions YouTube. One of the old folks, so to say. One who's been around since day one, I believe. And if you don't know him, well, check out the link in the description. Today we're gonna take a look at the counterattacks, basically the extra card you get if your warlord goes second, and every legion has its own, and we're gonna rank them based on basically their power level. This one has been requested a couple times on Discord before, so I thought we're gonna make this one. We're gonna discuss the cards a bit. Obviously you can't choose which counterattack you're getting if you're playing the legion. You're playing the legion, so you're getting this one. They don't have multiple ones, so you can't decide if you're going to play it or not. But maybe we'll give you a little idea on how to use it, and who knows, sometimes I know that everyone's watching the videos and maybe they want to tweak them at some point, I don't know, but some of them are good, some of them are bad. As mentioned, we will just discuss a little bit how they work within the faction and how you should use them, and in general how good they are. The tiers are on the top left, somewhere there. No, there. And it should be pretty self-explanatory what they mean. Alright, so I'd say we begin. SkuffD, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, great. So, we start off with the Vanilla Legion with the Vanilla Counterattack. It's the Sons of Horus, and their counterattack is gain 1 energy this turn for 0 energy. What do you say? This is like the Vanilla Counterattack. This is the to-go counterattack.
As he said, it's like a drilling site, which is great for a faction that has got some very nice cards that if you play ahead on curve, Targost, Muster, and then you add it with drilling sites. It may be too much, but I honestly feel like it's a hella good counterattack. On your scale there, like drilling site is a great card in 80% of the decks. And to have a counterattack, that the only downside to it is with the Legion itself, you don't have you have got high and you've got medium initiative, so you're not guaranteed that you're going to get it.
Exactly.
And that's kind of where it ties in, and that's why it's so good. Because typically, if you're getting it, then you're playing probably against a high initiative warlord, and they've typically got the first go. But I really like it. I think it's really good when you're playing events or you're playing against factions. Sometimes just having that counterattack, you're like, okay, I've got counterattack. I'm actually in the better position right now.
Yeah. It kind of is. You can turn one to ghost with it. Well, you empty your whole hand, but Sons of Horus usually don't have a problem with it. You like
Correct.
Every one of them has some kind of built-in draw or basically an ability which you can dump energy on. So the card disadvantage doesn't really matter here. You basically cheat out a turn. You get to play ahead of curve once, which is the purpose of counterattack, to give you kind of an advantage for going second, which is very important for Warpforge, by the way. You should implement that there too, Everguild, if you're watching this. I wouldn't call it OP, though. It's like, it's pretty good. It's the definition of the counterattack, in my opinion. You said hella good. You said like super good.
I say hella good. Hella good being one step below OP, because I think nothing should be OP. So
yeah, kind of. Some of them are kind of, but I'd say it's pretty good simply because of the warlords who are played the most are high initiative, namely Horus and Tarek. I'd say you don't see Abaddon. Unfortunately, the Mark of Chaos guy doesn't see that much play too recently. So yeah, it has a lot of purpose. Obviously, it's just a free drilling site. But OP, I wouldn't say so. It's simply also the card quality of Sons of Horus. I'd say it's pretty good.
I think that's a solid rank.
Pretty good, exactly. For the vanilla counterattack, and that's a good beginning. And next up, we got our angry boys, the World Eaters, and also very fitting counterattack here. You can deal for 0 energy again, 1 damage to a damaged unit. So we know some other counterattacks, and a conditional 1 damage isn't always that great, in my opinion. Yeah, it synergizes with the Legion itself. It's kind of fluffy, I suppose, but it's worse than some of the counterattacks we will be seeing later. The thing is, it doesn't really matter, the condition, because something will be damaged anyway. If you're playing World Eaters, there's nothing which won't be undamaged, especially if you're playing Karn, and that's the most popular warlord. So it's not like it bricks your hand or anything. So I don't know. It's not super great. It's not super bad because the condition doesn't matter. So I would put it in solid probably. What do you say?
Yeah, I would too. I would say solid. I think the big thing with every counterattack is a counterattack is supposed to be usable in every game, regardless. They shouldn't be contingent upon what your opponent's doing. It's got a condition in terms of there has to be a damaged unit, but that can be your unit, that can be their unit. It's free damage for 0, and there is never a game if you're a world leaders that you're not going to play that.
Yeah.
If you have the chance to. So yeah, it's solid.
If it would be undamaged, it would probably be hella good, I'd say, because you can just use it on Wrath. If your pings
Right
didn't
out the
connect
gate.
with Karn. So it's good that it
Yeah.
has this condition. And of course Brond. You have to ping Brond before you use it. So this way it's solid. If it would be just 1 damage to anything, it would be hella good probably in the Legion. But the way it is, I'd say solid. It's nothing too crazy. It's of course very good with Brond, but yeah, I think that's about it, because if you pinged Wrath once, you don't want to ping him again, I guess. So yeah, I put it in solid. I'm tempted to put it in pretty good because of the Legion, but yeah, I put it in solid because it's also like pretty standard. Let's continue. Next up are the pretty boys, the Emperor's Children. That's the only counterattack which costs 1 energy, and for 1 energy you draw a card. We know why it costs 1 energy, because of the Emperor's Children mechanic perfection. So you basically get to draw a card. So here it's just to trigger perfection. The effect is also, it doesn't give you any kind of advantage or swing like the Sons of Horus counterattack or any of the counterattacks which do damage to something. Yeah, so you don't get an advantage from it. You just get to trigger perfection 1 more time, and card advantage also usually isn't that big of an issue for Emperor's Children. They have a lot of cycle, they have a lot of draw, like for example, Fulgrim generates cards, then Longinus draws you a card, and of course Holds All Costs draws you 2 cards. So they don't really need it. Yeah, I see the reasoning behind what it costs 1 energy to trigger perfection, but honestly I think it would be better if it would be something like the next card you play triggers perfection for 0 energy. That would be really cool, in my opinion. That would be a really good counterattack. This way, it's just, you often use it just as in 1 energy dump and you cycle it. I don't know, what do you think? I don't like it too much. I would put it in meh.
I would put it in meh too, and you got Salt Harvest who could technically use it for 0 if you needed to, but then you're using his ability on that. It's really just kind of a way to get perfection on a turn that you maybe would have a harder time doing it, and it's not... like I said, like it's meh. Like drawing a card, okay, that's great. And if in a faction that has already got some card draw potential, that's great. It's not a bad ability, but because it's 1 energy, that's really the throw off. You can't use it first turn without blowing your first turn play.
Yeah, it's not free. Yeah, that's the problem. Like, I see the reasoning why it's not free. Again, to trigger perfection. Card draw isn't also too bad, but drawing a card doesn't help you regaining the board when you're behind on tempo. Honestly, I would more like to see it being like, as mentioned, 0 energy trigger perfection on the next card. Maybe it would be a bit broken. I don't know, but we would have to test it. But anyway, let's agree on meh. It's the only counterattack which isn't free, so doesn't give you any advantage if you're going second. Most of the time it's just there. It thins out the deck a bit, but sure, it's good having it, but it isn't really amazing. Let's continue with the next Legion, the Stinky Boys. It's the Death Guard. It's give 1 extra health to a friendly unit, so it can be either your Warlord or a friendly troop for, of course, 0 energy. What do you say?
I wish it was +2. I wish it was +2 health to a unit, but it's +1. And I mean, yeah, that's there, but it's meh to me. Like, plus, when you look at some of these other counterattacks that have got healing of 2 health or whatever, like the one in a faction that is very slow, ponderous, like 1 health doesn't do much.
Yeah,
I would say it's meh. It's above trash just because the Legion itself can make use of a high health, but that's it.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything, to be honest. You usually don't want to use this on your Warlord most of the time, because, again, it has no impact whatsoever if you do that. In Kaifa, it's not too shabby, I suppose, if you're playing some high-value targets, like, let's say, in Yora Sukasun, and you want to play around Longinus, or you're playing against Lucius, for example, and if you give Yora Sukasun 1 more health, he will need 2 more energy to kill it with his face. So, yeah, there's some nice purposes, but most of the time, the 1 health doesn't matter, and I totally agree with you here on the meh. +2 health would be I don't know, for a counterattack, but too good maybe. But then again, little spoiler, Sisters of Silence also buff 2 stats for 0 energy,
Yep.
and their counterattack is also multi-purpose because of several cards, but we'll discuss it later. So, meh, it's not unusable, it's not garbage. I don't even know. But yeah, we'll see that later. Only good thing about it is, yeah, heals, you have to be damaged to be healed, and here you can just buff something. But anyway, most of the time
that's the only upside.
it doesn't matter, and that's the point here. Alright, the next one on our list are the Iron Warriors, and this one is probably one of the hella good ones. It's for 0 energy, deal 1 damage to everything, to all units on the board. Of course, it deals damage to you as well, but first of all, it's free AoE. Yeah, it's the only counterattack, I believe, which does damage to multiple targets. Yeah, so that's actually amazing. It hits through stealth, it hits through ward, and you have a lot of synergies with that as well. Of course, if you're damaging your own stuff, that isn't that great. But first of all, Iron Warriors have a lot of stuff which synergizes with killing your own stuff, like Petarabo Whispers, or they patched a couple of the cards like Dominators and these 4/4 Chaos Mark guys. And of course, you can set up for viral bombs. You can, again, punch through stealth and ward. If you're using something like the support squad, then it deals basically 3 damage. You can kill something for the 3 health using the counterattack in the support squad. Overall, it's just Rageforth, Tranticos veterans, which are used in almost every deck, and etc. etc. It is very multi-purpose, high value. Sure, you damage your own stuff, but most of the time it doesn't matter. And since most of the, I'd say, regularly played Iron Warrior Warlords are kind of burn aggro centered, like Falk or Petarabo and Kruger, so most of the time you are the one having the initiative or the higher health. The 1 damage to yourself doesn't really matter. So I'll would put this one in hella good, especially because Petarabo always has it, yeah, and it helps him a lot. It's great utility, great damage, overall, like super good value. I'd say hella good. What do you say, Scuff?
I can't argue with that, and there's some other points there to go with it, because any of the counterattacks that basically can help you with a 3 health play on turn 1 or turn 2 is big. That helps you with a 3 health play, several 1 health plays. If you're playing a mono warlord, you take 1 damage and you could potentially deal 7 damage to your opponent for free across their board, 1 to 7 units. That alone is pretty good, but then you throw in the fact that, the viral bombs, the fact that the Iron Warriors love to hurt themselves and do the attrition grind, the fact that they've got so much damage in their card pool and it's 1 extra damage just to get what they need, it's, definitely.
You compare it to, there's one Ruinstorm card, Mirror of Hatred. It's 1 energy and does the same. 1 energy, it's a faction card, which does the same and costs more. So just let that sink in. Anyway, let's continue. Next up are the Alpha is the Alpha Legion, and that's basically Sons of Horus, but only for tactics. Your next tactic this turn costs 1 less. I don't know. Do we really want to discuss it? It's basically Sons of Horus, but a bit worse. Sure, you have a couple of synergies. Best one is probably the Serpent Squad, and that's about it.
The thing is, like, Sons of Horus can use theirs to play a troop, and
there's more versatility.
This can't.
Yeah, this just is for harrowing, but again, the usual setups score into harrowing, so first score, then harrowing, like the 9 energy play. I guess that's balancing or fluff. I don't know. It's like Sons of Horus, but slightly worse, so I'd say solid. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
Not much to discuss here, but putting it in pretty good would just be unfair because Sons of Horus is there, I guess.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, next up. My favorite boys, the Night Lords. Their ones is pretty unique, more or less. Your Warlord gains sneak attack this turn, so you get a free attack. What do you say here?
I think it's pretty good, because they've already got a card that costs 2 energy that gives them sneak attack in the faction. So then in some games, you could have 3 sneak attack, or you've got Sevatar, or you want to sneak attack before you use Curse into Night Haunter mode.
On Curse, it's pretty bad, I think, yeah. But
it's not as good. I mean, like, you're going to use it early on, but if you're using... and nobody plays him enough, but honestly, like the Painted Count, I really like it with him, because if you've got Mercy and Forgiveness, and you've got 3 ways to give sneak attack between that and 2 copies of Dirty Fighter, that's the one way to trade off. But I honestly think it's pretty good, because every warlord that they've got, aside from, and you can make the argument that the Apothecary isn't aggressive, but he kind of is. I mean, every warlord that they've got is going to be aggressive to some degree, or using to support with the terror.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit. You said pretty good.
Yeah.
It obviously has synergies with the faction. If you have Mercy and Forgiveness equipped, it's pretty good. Like if you would have default pretty Mercy and Forgiveness, it would be pretty good. It's also pretty good if you are Malkarian. I guess pretty good if you're Sevatar because you don't have much to do except attacking, I suppose. On Curse, it's semi-useless. You have to use it, like you have to have a situation to use it before 10 energy, before you hit the Night Haunter. And Curse also has his ability, so he reduces attack on his own. And Night Lords have a lot of ways to reduce attack, so most of the time, many times you will attack into something which has 0 attack anyway. I don't like it.
See, I'm also thinking if you play it with the guys that give your attack +1 or +2. You know, they've got adjacent to, but I mean,
there are synergies, yes, but it's good on, as mentioned, I think 2 warlords. With Mordrim, you usually don't attack. You use your ability most of the time. That's how you play him. I suppose I don't play him much, but most of the time when I see it, it's just ability spam. As mentioned, Curse, yes, I guess you don't have to use your ability once. I don't know, but he's high initiative anyway. It's pretty good on Malkarian. Pretty good if you would have Mercy and Forgiveness, but in general, I play a lot of Night Lords, and it sits in my hand from quite a lot. It doesn't provide the swing which I want from counterattacks, so solid. Okay, next one is pretty interesting too. It's also pretty unique. It's from the 1000 Suns 0 energy, give counterattack to an enemy. This one is, I'd say, either hella good or pretty good, because, well, 0 energy counterattack, if you have access to stuff like Traitor's Demise, it's 2 energy and draw a card for the same effect. Or it's comparable to not Sons of the Hydra, what's it called? Brand of the Hydra from the Alpha Legion. Again, 2 energy and draw a card. And maintenance 1, okay, so it's, I guess, better. But here you get a very good effect for 0 energy. It's an effect which can't be removed, only with Jam. And if you use it on the Warlord, well, he can't attack, so it helps a little bit with stalling, with defense. It's very good utility, and it can set up for stuff like Astral Warfare for the next turn. You can like stall for a turn with this, then you stall for a turn with Ore, then maybe you got a War Portal another turn with Ore. You can just stall with a lot of times, and then you also have Echoes from the Past. You don't see too much, but actually many said that the only use for Echoes of the Past is this counterattack, because for free energy, recycling it is still good. So
that is correct.
Great utility, and I think going second isn't too bad as 1000 Suns, no matter who you play, because of this card. You have to be a little bit smart about it. It's not as say straightforward as the Sons of Horus again, but it's very good utility, and simply because of that, I wouldn't say hella good. It's not as great value as Iron Warriors, but I would put it in pretty good.
I would also put it in pretty good.
Yeah, not much to say here, I guess. It's just
no, that's cut to the chase. That's it. It's good.
Yeah. And next up are the Word Bearers, and it's again a bit like Alpha Legion. It's the same as Sons of Horus, but only for troops. Next turn you play costs 1 less, so you can cheese out a troop 1 turn earlier. What do you say? I guess it's the same argument.
I want to say it's
Alpha Legion.
I mean, the difference is the Word Bearers are much more of a troop faction, but that's it. Like, I mean, and yes, it works with any troop, right?
Yeah, it's with any troop.
So with cultists and with demons and with, like, it's good, but that's all you're doing. You're just playing it. Like, that's not anything major for 1 extra turn. I'd say it's solid.
Yep, I agree. It's just like same reasoning as with the Alpha Legion counterattack. It's like Sons of Horus, but slightly worse. Of course, yeah, you have combo potential, but again, it's like Sons of Horus, but slightly worse, so it lands in solid. Not much to say here. Next one is pretty straightforward. It's from the Ruinstorm, and it's just 0 energy, deal 1 damage. I would say it's one of those pretty good ones. It's straightforward, you don't have a condition, and there's a reason why I would put this in pretty good over solid. You know, usually I would put this in solid because this is like also the vanilla counterattack. Like, it's like Sons of Horus, 1 energy, you deal 1 damage for free to anything. And to anything is the point here, because a very strong and popular mutation is what Ruinstorm revolves around. A very popular and strong mutation is the Rage mutation. So Rage, deal 1 damage to everything, to all enemies. Yeah, that mutation, it's super strong. It's one of the strongest they got. And if you got the counterattack, you can turn it into deal 1 damage to all enemies. This makes it, in my eyes, pretty good. Otherwise would be solid, but because of that mechanic, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I would also put it in pretty good because, first off, I feel like it's just better than the World Eaters one.
Yeah.
And It's very useful in corebacks because he's typically going to get it. If you've got the little plague bears are going to give yourself a mutation.
Yep.
Any 3 health troop is not safe.
Exactly.
It's just really good.
Exactly. I'd put it in pretty good. And next up, oh, Jesus Christ. I'm kind of happy that it is like it is, but okay. Traitor Legios, our favorites.
Trash.
Deal 1 damage to random enemy. So the only reasoning behind it is it hits through stealth and through ward, I suppose. And the Traitor Legios already have a lot. Okay, what I'm saying, trash. Okay.
It's trash.
It's fucking trash. It's garbage. Like, it's so bad. Like,
it's so bad.
Okay, they usually go second, but I don't know.
To be fair, they need it. It's deserved. It's trash. It's deserved.
It's deserved that it's trash. But Jesus Christ, man, they have a lot of AOE anyway. So
they do. Yeah.
But it's random as fuck, and it makes it bad. All right, that's it for the traders. Looking pretty good here. Iron Warriors, well, deserved, and overall, yeah, overall solid counterattacks, I'd say. Now we come to the Loyalists, and we start off with the Iron Hands. 0 energy, your Warlord gains shields, so a defensive mechanic here. And, you know, I would say this one is pretty good for 2 reasons. So if you compare this to, let's compare it to the Night Lords. Night Lord's counterattack is basically the same. So you prevent yourself from taking damage if you take into something, for example. That's one purpose. Second purpose is they are full of Cardinal. You play this, I think, in almost every deck. In Santar, the most popular Iron Hands Warlord, unfortunately, you play 2 copies. So this will definitely, at the very least, this will prevent 4 damage from your Warlord. Also, you can use it defensively if you didn't play it yet and you're about to die, and you just shield yourself. Multi-purpose, very good, I'd say, especially because of some infection cards. It's definitely much better than Death Guard, because this will save you a lot more health. I don't know, it's either hella good or pretty good. What do you say?
I would say it's pretty good, but I do want to shout out all the fools who thought it was trash when it released, because no one's going to play full of Cardinal in their deck.
Really? It wasn't like that?
There was a bunch of people who thought it was the worst counterattack.
Really?
Which I think we've seen worse since then. But yeah, like the Iron Hands in general weren't great, but Fall of Cardinal does what it did then, or did what it does now. And there were several people who were like, "Yeah, that's good." And like, people were like, "No, that's terrible. It's terrible. No, it's pretty good." When you see the counterattack played on Santar, you know that Fall of Cardinal's coming next. Typically,
he's saving 4
9
health.
times out of 10. Exactly, and saving 4 health and wiping the board for free. Wow, like it's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm a bit conflicted between pretty good and hella good, but I would, let's be fair, let's put it in pretty good, because it doesn't provide the swing you would want from the counterattack. Because if you're not playing center, if you're playing Duquesne, if you're a Madman and playing something like Medozon or Ferris, this doesn't do that much. It's basically like a slightly better Night Lord's counterattack in that case. For center, it's hella good. But as we're looking at the faction as a whole, I'd say pretty good. Alright, next one is a bit controversial. It's the Salamanders, and it's 0 energy again, and heal 1 to all your units.
I mean, you know, I want to like this. I really do, but I don't. Is it trash level? I feel like it is either trash or it's 1 stage above trash. Like, if you've got several units out on the board, you're getting 5 or 6 health. But even with the Salamanders and their Survivor, that's typically not going to happen because they play slow. And on top of that, maybe you actually want that health because you want the sacrifice. So it almost feels like it plays counterintuitive to what they do. It would make more sense if they had a way to damage themselves to trigger sacrifice
Iron Warriors.
As opposed to that.
Imagine if they had Iron Warriors counterattack, man.
Yes. Oh, that'd be too good. I just feel like it doesn't do anything for them. It's a way for them to technically have a counterattack, because half the time they're going to go second anyways, but it doesn't swing anything. And I feel like if it's not trash, it is 1 stage above trash. Whether you like Salamanders or not, you cannot say that that's a good counterattack.
Yeah, I put it in trash. The only way where this is good, if you're actually like, from a counter perspective, counterattacks are there to give you an advantage for 1 turn. Like Lexon's Force is the vanilla one, we take this one as the golden standard, so to say. It gives you a cheat turn for 1 turn. This one doesn't do that, and it provides some defense, so if you're about to die, but in the end, will that 1 health really matter that often? Not really. And well, if you're already losing, that means, yeah, that sucks already. And counterattacks are there to prevent that kind of in the early game, from my perspective. The 1 health won't do anything. So it's first of all a win more counterattack. So it will be more profitable if you have a full board. But then again, as you said, the Salamanders don't want to heal themselves. The only thing where this is good if you have a full board, if you're already winning, and if you want to play around something like a frag grenade or an informer network, if you're on like all your stuff is at 1 health and you want to prevent your opponent from playing one of those cards I mentioned, like, so bringing them out of range of some weird AoE. Because of the sacrifice, you actually don't want to heal them. If you have, for example, your Restan, that's the most played troop from the Salamanders, I'd say, and he got 1 damage, you don't want to heal him. You want to keep him at 2 health so you can slam into the face, and yeah, you know, it's kind of counterproductive, I'd say. Sure, it's great value when you have a full board, but then again, that value is counter synergetic with the Legion. Simply because of this counter synergy, I put it in trash. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. If not the sacrifice counter synergy, I would put it in meh. But simply because of that fact, I put it in trash. And next up is a pretty good utility one as well. It's from the Raven Guard. Stun an enemy. Pretty simple. I play a lot of Raven Guards, so most of the time you also play high initiative warlords. This is especially good if you are playing the scimitar jet bikes. This prevents your opponent from face bashing into them. And most of the time you play scimitar jet bikes where they are most effective is on 6, who can buff them. And usually with 6 you want to play them on 4 so you can buff them to get them out of face bash range. And this way, since he's also medium initiative, there's a chance to get it. He can play it on 3. I think it's worse than 1000 Suns because there isn't that much setup as in with the 1000 Suns, not much stalling needed. And you also need to use it clever like the 1000 Suns, so I would put it in equal with the 1000 Suns. A free stun can also be removed, unlike counterattack, so I would put it in pretty good. It's just also very good utility.
I think it's pretty good, especially combined with a lot of the duck and fade tactics that the Raven Guard have got. Like I said, like 6 is most likely to get it, but if you don't, you're playing a high match mirror game or anything like that can be very handy too, because sometimes it's going to force your opponent to try a deliverance or do some other setup to, mitigate if they can't remove the stun. So yeah,
it would be obviously better to have a ping with the Raven Guard as a counterattack, but that would be a bit too good, I guess, because of
that would be hella good.
Yeah, so it's not very synergetic with the faction, but it's very good utility, so pretty good. It is. Next up are the Space Wolves, also pretty straightforward. Heal 2 to a friendly unit. Does it swing? Not really. Well, what do you say? I don't know. It's meh.
Before they changed Curse of the Wolfen, it was probably meh, plus 2 health. But then you'd use it on my Jortan to keep my Jortan alive. Cool. But the fact that you've got Curse of the Wolfen doing what it does now, and you can heal 2 on those ward troops, if you don't have a way to answer that, it hurts. It hurts a lot. And I think that raises it up a bit. It's not like game breaking, but it's very annoying when they're able to do that and you don't have a flank in hand.
I agree. You got a point there. I would also put it in meh from like a vanilla perspective, because it doesn't do that much, but because of all the warded troops, and especially because of Curse of the Wolfen, where we have to attack it somehow. Yeah, you can't deal with the tactics. Having more health on that, especially on the Jurgen or something, you have to punch through the front line there. I would put it in solid. Like, it doesn't swing per se, but 2 health is 2 health, not gonna lie. It also helps you, I don't know, surviving. It's free. It's a free Arbuslider heal, so I would put it in solid.
Technically, it's better than the Death Guard one, so it can't be in that.
It's definitely better than the Death Guard one, yeah. So solid is deserved, I would say. All right, next one is interesting because, okay, we'll discuss it a little bit. It's from the Custodes, and it's 0 energy, of course. Your Warlord gains +1/+0 this turn. So it goes in line with the whole 1 damage counterattacks, but you have to use your Warlord for that, so that's a minus, basically. So from a vanilla perspective, it's worse than Ruinstorm, Because with Ruinstorm, you just deal 1 damage, you don't have to act with your Warlord, and yada yada, you got the idea. But, of course, it's Custodes. Custodes, Nassau, and Aemon have first strike, and of course there's Peregrine Spear, Auric Mortalis, etc, etc. There are so many synergies with with buffing the attack of your Warlord. Well, the Reckoning, of course, that's also a thing, yeah, believe it or not. I don't know if ranking it into hella good is fair here, because I don't know if it's as great as the Iron Warriors, simply because you still use up that Warlord action, but I would argue it's better than Ruinstorm. Because
I would definitely agree that
or
it
actually,
is.
actually, no, Ruinstorm is also synergies. No, I would say it's pretty good. I would say it's pretty good.
I think the only thing that keeps back it out of Heligood, it's not a slam against the card itself, it's the skill level of playing Custodes. Because the amount of damage that you can do when you combo and you know what you're doing with this card is along with the other cards in your hand, if you've built the deck right and you're playing it right, it increases your lethal range by at least 2 if you've got Paragon, Spear, or anything else. Skill level playing Custodes isn't for everybody, and some people just don't get it. Some people use it early to deal with a cheap threat. And all right,
Sometimes
thanks. Like that's yeah. So I would say pretty good. It's powerful, but it's only powerful in the right hands.
Yeah, and it would be unfair because Ruinstorm, we also argued here about the utility. Here it has a bit more utility than Ruinstorm, but you have to use up your Warlord action, so yeah, it's hard, but I'd say pretty good. It would be still fair to the ranking, but it's almost hella good. It's almost hella good. I'd say almost
borderline, definitely.
Okay. Next up are the poster boys, Ultramarines. They also have one of the most powerful counterattacks, in my opinion. It's either deal 1 damage to anything for 0 energy, or heal 1 to anything for 0 energy. You can choose, so it kind of goes along with their whole either or fluffy theme they have with all their cards where you have multiple effects you can choose. Of course, it's better than Ruinstorm if you put it like that. They just don't have the same synergies as Ruinstorm, so it would be unfair, I think, but and the heal, you don't ever use it, I think. You sometimes use it in a very, very tough situation on your Warlord when you think, oh my god, you do anything to survive the next turn and just go ahead and do it. Or you, I don't know, if you have something like with a troop with 2 health, you heal it for 1 so it gets out of lethal range, but you rarely do that. Most of the time you just do it for 1 damage. And yeah, it's of course on paper better than Ruinstorm. Yeah, but it doesn't have the same synergies, and the heal you don't almost never use it. What do you say?
Well, I think that's the thing is Ruinstorm makes it pretty good because of the synergies that you've got with the faction and the mutations. And while the Ultramarines are very versatile, and you've got a lot of either or pick and choose. That's just it. It's I would say it is. Sons of Horus set the bar at pretty good. I would feel that the Ultramarines counterattack sets the bar at solid. It heals 1 or it does damage for 1. That's it.
It's
never going to not be useful, but it's never going to exceed.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Of course, if because of the versatility, you'd put it in pretty good, but because there's no particular faction synergy and the heal part is somewhat useless, it's like Salamanders, but only on 1 unit. So yeah, I think it's solid too. Again, you won't ever use the heal really, and the 1 damage is just 1 damage to swing in couple times. All right, next one is pretty interesting and unique too. It's the only counterattack which gets you some stuff on the board. It's Blood Angels, 0 energy, put in play 2 Unsettled Populace. And Unsettled Populace are just 0 energy, 1/1 Imperial Army troops, and you get 2 of those. Oh no, that's not the only one which puts shit on the board, but it's the best one for certain because, well, okay, it's your turn to speak a little bit, Skuff, sorry.
I think it's pretty good. I mean, you've got Ralderon, who takes advantage of it right away for free, like with his 1 energy ability, and that's basically a free +1/+1 to his adjacent units. But the fact that you've got Requiem to go with it, I think the only downside with it, really, is if you've got more units on the board, it can be a little tricky to make sure that they generate where you want them to generate for Requiem triggers. But it's going to fuel Sanguinius's Reckoning. It's going to just extra Reckoning damage for anything else. Ralderon can use it along with, not the Harl Squad, the Harem Squad for some cheap ping damage. Amit, that's at least 1, if not 2 damage to your enemy if they ping right.
Yeah, if they ping right. On Amit, it's actually not that good, but
it's not as good on Miros. It's free health on something. The worst thing that could happen is you add health on the other one.
Yeah,
dies, But I feel like it is pretty good just because what it does gives you fuel for either Reckoning or for abilities to do things, which really kind of early on that the Blood Angels don't have a whole lot. Like when they get going, but they need something to bolster. If they're not playing landing and you're not lucky enough to get Hermia out the gate, you need a little extra body for distraction or for companionship to bolster what your troops are doing.
Yeah, distraction. That's the worst thing that can happen with them, distraction. It's just two little buddies on the board, and you usually don't want to ignore them. Great synergy with Sanguinius. These guys can deal, if they stick on the board, 4 damage. Requiem triggers. Reldron can ping them. It ticks down the Reckoning of Sanguinius with high initiative, but yeah, it's best on Sanguinius, definitely on Reldron, I'd say. It's also good on Escalon because you can protect them with frontline. It's on Amit and Maros, it's debatable because their Requiem is random, but it fuels Elithid Reserves, which you usually play with them.
Yep.
Requiem of the Troops. Honestly, on its own, it's probably solid because the little guys don't matter. But regarding the faction they're in and how good they are on most of the warlords, I would actually put it in hella good. Because along with Reldron, that's the most popular one, he's medium initiative. What you get here is basically a 2/2 on one side. Yeah, with visibility, it's like, let's combine this counterattack with visibility, like as an ability. It's 1 energy, get a 2/2, and buff something for +1/+1, like on Reldron.
Yeah, maybe a 5/4, or something that'll drop pod.
Yeah, exactly. The meta squad on 4 energy. So you get a 2/2 on one side and a 5/4 on the other side for 4 energy. That's actually amazing. Like, that's the epitome of the counterattack. It's probably not on par with Iron Royce. It's still the best here, I think. But I would totally say it's hella good. Like, on Reldron, on Sanguinius, again, ticking down the Reckoning. All the stuff you can do with the Angel's Tears, Frevius Command. I love it. It's a very good counterattack. Extremely good. Like, I hope you agree here, because I'm right anyway. Doesn't matter if you agree here or not.
Hey, it's your channel, That's like, you'd be right. No, but I think too, it is probably one of the few counterattacks that people complain about. When you're playing against Blood Angels, sometimes people have that counterattack. They don't not to the degree that we complain about other cards because it's just a counterattack. But I never hear people complain about the World Eaters counterattack or the Sons of Horus counterattack. It's the Sons of Horus cards that they complain about. But this card here, what it does is what people complain about. It gives them 2 1/1 bodies that then Reldron can ping. Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, that's...
Yeah, alright. The next one here are the White Scars. This one is a bit like Custodes, and you just give +1/+0 to a friendly unit this turn. It's not permanent, it's just for this turn. But nonetheless, it's again 1 damage, like it goes in the same way as Ruinstorm, being pretty good. Does it have the same synergies as Ruinstorm? I would say actually yes, because usually you will get it on Janksai. Janksai is the only White Scars warlord with medium initiative, so he's the one who's most likely to get it. And what is the most popular build with Janksai? It's the Mission Streak build. And guess what? Having a free 0 energy card helps you with Streak. And guess what? With a lot of flankers, it's very good. I don't know. I would, simply because of the fact that it's best on the warlord, who has medium initiative. I'm also a bit tempted to put it in hella good, simply because it's a free streak activator. The only problem is that if you're playing all these little flankers like Kumbalai Bikes, and I think Ventali Bikes was the name, am I right? The 4/3 sneak attack, the one you play to. You obviously have to play them after you played the counterattacks. The only thing holding this down from being hella good is that you will usually have to use it on something which is already on the board to trigger the streak. So you can't buff the Kumbalai Bikes, you can't buff the Ventali Bikes. That kind of sucks. Simply because it's a free streak activator. It could be 0 energy to nothing, I would still put it in solid, I think. So this having an effect automatically puts it in pretty good, if you ask me.
I would put it in pretty good. And yeah, for the same reason, a combo streak for free.
Exactly. Obviously, it would be the best on Jagatai, but he has very high initiative, so except if you lose the coin toss against Caliban Assassin, you will never see it on him. So yeah, it goes into pretty good. Okay, next up is oh my god, pretty vanilla one again, and it's also the worst one of all of these, I'd say. It's Dark Angels. Your next Dark Angels troop costs 1 less. So again, the Dark Angels fucking hate neutrals, man. All their cards only synergize with their own wings, with their own legions. So Dark Angels really don't want to play neutrals. Everything which buffs your hand.
The fluff on it.
Yeah,
it's great.
I guess. Fluff.
No, I mean the fluff.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but the fluff is... Evergill is really good at translating fluff into the game, not gonna lie. but we're talking here about the counterattacks from gameplay perspective. I don't know. It would be unfair to put it in solid. I mean, simply because it's Dark Angels, you don't run neutrals or that many neutrals anyway. I guess in Nemil or Corswain, it's arguable. In Corswain, just a tempo deck, you just play Jubek and 3, just because they have something to play on 3, or Nemil can buff shit, and you also play it for the same reason. It serves the same purpose as Red Barrow's counterattack. It's basically the same, but slightly worse. But you don't play neutrals and Dark Angels anyway, so what do you say? Is it meta or solid? And not much to discuss.
I think it's solid. For like I said, for the same reason, like you're not playing neutrals in Dark Angels, so you don't need to worry about what the Word Bearers offers. It's gonna do for you what you're gonna play anyways. So I would rank it as solid.
Yeah. And next up, your favorite SkuffD. It's the Imperial Fists. Why, oh man, it's not too shabby, I think.
No, I mean it's a good one. That's I'm deciding. I'm anxious. I'm like, wow, how do I feel about this?
0 energy and give Bastion 2 to a friendly unit. So Bastion 2 is basically defensive health. But anyway, SkuffD, it's definitely your turn here.
I really want to be pretty good, and I think in some instances it can be pretty good because basically this is Rogaldorn's ability for free.
Yep.
If you've got Rogaldorn, you're playing something. You technically give 4 Bastion to something later on in the game. It's a way to give Kaiser Lane 4 health out the gate if you want to go that route. You can Camba Diaz or anybody who uses the front lines. I forget their names right now. To generate the sentry turret. Or just put it on a sentry turret to give that 2 extra health.
Yeah, I hate going first against Camba Diaz. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, because they're gonna have it. Like you need to have a flanker because now he's gonna get.
Or play something turn 1. Also play something turn 1 or have a flanker, or you won't be able to kill the fucking turret, and then he will snowball. Then cast frost, stalwart defenders, perimeter defense.
Yes,
you fucking know it.
And it's a little bit of bias, but I mean like. Whereas most of the other counterattacks kind of work to even the field by being a little bit more aggressive, doing damage, playing things. This really complements the Imperial Fist playstyle, which is playing defensive. And if I'm going to play defensive, I need extra health. I'd have to say it's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. It fits the Legion very well. It's definitely better than Death Guard and Space Wolves. It doesn't have to be damaged. It has some synergies, like, I don't know, Storm Gauntlet. I guess you played... Reckoning Dawn is a thing, by the way. I don't know if you're familiar with what I played recently, but you can get it quite often. And sure, you most of the time use it early game, but it has the purpose of the counterattack. It has its perfectly set, so to say. You swing it's swingy because your opponent won't be able to deal with your shit that easy. And how the Imperial Fists play all of them is that you want to snowball your board, and this one helps a lot with that. As again, if you're playing Camba Diaz, it's actually good to go second in that case, because especially except if you're against Karn, your opponent will have a harder time dealing with your turret, and you will have a better time at snowballing. So pretty good. It's not that amazing as these two, so not hella good, but pretty good certainly. Alright, and next up we got the Sisters of Silence. So this is one of those buff cards I was talking about. Looking at that death card makes me kind of sad. So it's 0 energy, +1/+1 to a troop. Okay, you obviously can't buff your warlord with it, but a troop. This one is pretty good. If you're playing Catherine, and actually you play Secretary Axiarchs, I think in almost, in some of Sisters of Silence decks, definitely in Catherine. Secretary Axiarch is a very, very good neutral troop. Its only weakness is that it dies to 2 face bashes or a face bash and a ping or something like that. This prevents that, but in general, +1/+1 for free is very good. It already puts it in pretty good. But there are some synergies, so you can use this on an enemy troop too. But why would you do that? Why would you buff an enemy troop? First of all, there's this, oh Jesus, all the Sisters of Silence names, man, they all have like color
and wolves.
Color and animal. And I'm thinking about the White Falcons.
Yeah, White Falcons. And I think the White Asps as well, correct?
White Asps and White Falcons, is it like that? So I'm talking about the 4/4 flanker. If your opponent has something with more attack, it gains sneak attack. Like 4/4 sneak attack for 4 energy. Pretty good, and you obviously want that to happen. So if your opponent has something with like 4/3, like a Meta squad, for example, you buff that, you play your flanky lady, and then it gets sneak attack. Otherwise it wouldn't. So multi-purpose here, of course. You can also play it. Then it gets sneak attack and then buff it, so it deals 1 more damage, and it's a 5/5 flank sneak attack. Then of course White Asps destroy something which has more attack than this troop. multi-purpose. I don't know. I'm also a little bit conflicted here between hella good and pretty good. I mean, you don't run white asps that much. White falcons are a staple.
White Falcons are good. Well, just being able to give +1/+1 to your troop, anyways, especially with Kroll, who could potentially be buffing them as well. Kazran just as a way to like bolster whatever she's got down. Maybe it's a frontline, maybe it's a unit that you want to stick around. Like, it's never not going to be useful. I want to say hella good because I think the sisters in general are hella good. But at the same time, I do think there are a couple decks that can't take advantage of it the same way. So it's borderline. It's borderline. Pretty good, hella good.
Yeah, I agree. It's it doesn't have as amazing synergies as these two, so I put it in pretty good. So as mentioned, you have one scenario where you would buff the enemy, or 1.5, I'd say. White Aspis is mentioned, not that popular, and you can prevent some of your stuff to be killed. But then maybe it gets killed anyway. It's kind of giving 1 extra health, more or less. It's definitely much better than Death Guard, but I don't think it's enough for hella good. So let's put it in pretty good. Am I right?
That's fair.
Next up are the Agents of the Sigillite. Give recognition to a friendly troop until your next turn. What do you say?
I like it. I like it because the Agents of Sigillite are troop based. It helps you get your chosen the Sigillite on a troop if you want to go. It combos with Arvida.
Yep.
You can throw it down on your Malkador's chosen the 2/3 guys so that they can have a higher chance of surviving to bolster up. It's very useful. The only downside is you can't use it on your Warlord, but it's a good card.
That would be sick, man.
Yeah,
that would be sick.
And precog, precog to precog, like outside of sabotage or direct damage, you can't get past it. I feel like it's solid, but then at the same time, Malkador is going to always have that.
Yeah.
So if he's got Malkador's chosen and he's not playing against an opponent that he has to be attacking, he's going to use his ability. He's going to have a front line that he can precog that you now have to deal with on the next turn, or have a card to deal with. I'd say it's pretty good. It's pretty versatile, and protecting a troop that you want to protect for one more turn so that you can play Chosen Sigillite is really important, especially for a faction that relies on that setup. They are a setup-based faction. You need to have a troop on board to really do stuff with them.
Yeah, sure. Like, the Sigillite Chosen is probably the best argument here. And the best target for it is actually the Sniper Assassin, Vindicare Assassin, yeah.
Aristed Kel, yeah.
Aristed Kel, yeah, that one, exactly. I think that's the best use. Like, it sits in stealth, then you shoot with it, then you give it a precog. The only thing which I think holds this card down from being hella good, or this counterattack, is that it doesn't guarantee a swing, so you don't know if your opponent might have something like a 3 damage, or if you're playing against center, then it's completely useless, for example. Yeah, it combos with Arvida. But yeah, again, it doesn't guarantee a swing. It's certainly really, really good in certain situations. Yeah, then it can be hella good even. Since it's matchup dependent and it doesn't guarantee you the mentioned swing, it's probably pretty good simply because it has you have a lot of troops which you want to precog. Even if you're playing good neutrals with, I don't know, if you're playing Iota Tempo, you play Jubek, you play Neora, you can give them precog. If you're up against Night Lords, well, you're gonna have a really good time. I'm conflicted between solid and pretty good. Pretty good because you can combo it with Arvida, and they generally have a lot of good targets for that. And it also helps you with the setup for Sigillite Chosen, or if you're playing Malkador's, what did you call the Malkador's Elite? I forgot the
Malkador's Circle, I think, is actually what they are. Malkador's Chosen.
Malkador's Circle, the 2/3 guys. If you play them on Malkador, then they become a 3/5 next turn. Not too bad. So if it didn't die, of course. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's probably solid as a standalone card, and pretty good in the faction. You know, you can compare it to the 2 energy Orphans of War card. It gives precog to a friendly unit for 2 energy, but because you can use it on the Warlord, it's much more potent. Yeah, you know. So here you can't argue here. Oh, but Orphans of War have that for 2 energy. You can't use it on your Warlord. That's why it holds it back a little bit. Okay, and the last Loyalist Legion here. Another favorite of the community, it's the Loyalist Legios, the Titans, and it's again another energy cheat. Lowers the cost of one of your Titan weapon abilities by 1 this turn. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't play that much Titans. I only played Cerberus at the release of Titans just to play something, I guess, but I can't tell you that much about it. It's an energy cheat that's slightly worse than Sons of Horus.
It's solid. Yeah. And it does what it does. It's way better than the Traitors one.
Way better.
But that's all it is. It's 1 extra energy for a specific use.
Exactly. So I'd say solid. And not much to say here. It's just one of those energy cheats, which is slightly worse than Sense of Force. You will obviously find use for it. It's really good on Aurum Castigator to use your Plasma Suzerain, whatever it's called, for turn 1. And yeah, I don't know. It's probably not that great on the Little Titan because he only runs the Volcano Cannon, and you can, I don't know, I guess some fancy combo with Full Stride where you give Bloodthirst to the Volcano Cannon. No idea. Solid. It's an energy cheat with a condition. So next one is really, really good. It's Orphans of War. Like, they are value kings, and that also reflects in their counterattack. It's 0 energy, deal 1 damage, and if the target survives, you also refill 1 energy. What do you say, man?
I think it, just by the fact that it does a little conditional makes it better than the Ultramarines counterattack in that regard. You get that extra energy. You get and you can do damage. You still have to arrange it in the right way to make use of that. But in a faction that you've got where you want to use an ability or you want to play a second card, it works really nice. I would say it's pretty good because you're never not going to use it. You have a high chance of using the second conditional. You're not always going to, but you have a high chance. And just the fact that it can give you 3 damage with your Warlord on turn 1 is handy. Attack, ping, play troop, ping, play a second troop.
I'm a bit conflicted here, not gonna lie. It doesn't have any super amazing particular synergies, but it's 2 counterattacks in 1. Like, we will have an hour from the Mechanicum, it's refill 1 energy, just spoiler, but okay. And here it's conditional, that's the only thing. But you get 1 extra energy in a turn, you also deal 1 damage, and sometimes you get both. I don't know, dude. It's really good. You can't cheat energy like with the Sons of Horus one, but goddamn, it's so good value. I'm conflicted. I'm tempted to put
I think the problem is you know what? I was going to say so many people are just tainted by Nerak Kyrene, but Branthan can play it and buff on curve with that, which is huge because it's Branthan. He's going to have it.
Yeah, you can just use it to cheat 1 energy. You can just use it to deal 1 damage, but when you get to do both, if you go second as Kyrene, which sometimes happens, and Kyrene usually has a shit ton of cards in his hand, and you can basically play more shit in 1 turn, and you also deal 1 damage for free. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because of its sheer value. It's 2 counterattacks in 1 as mentioned. I would put it in hella good. Not because it has any particular synergies, simply because it's just extremely good value. It's probably, from a standalone perspective, the best counterattack in the game. Then
it does what several counterattacks do in 1. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And next up are the Defenders of Caliban. That's a pretty weird one. You give sneak attack to a friendly unit which has 3 attack or less. So it's like Night Lords, but you can also use it on troops. And you can first give it to a troop and then buff the troop with Strategic Mastery, for example, or Ramiel. I don't know. What do you think about it? I can't really give an evaluation here, to be honest. It's kind of weird. It's a weird one.
It's a great one to combo if you've got their legendary on the world. That's your classic, right? You're play a bunch of infantry with the counterattack, act again, free sneak attack for the whole game. Like that's the old Cypher combo.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Double sneak attack. Okay.
Yeah.
I rarely play something with Viewfield, but yeah, that's true. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would put it better than the Night Lords because it can go on troop, like you said, you can buff it, but also for the fact that there are ways to act again, and that faction specifically, and you're going to be, your Warlord's going to get it, or if you're playing with the Nemiel, not Nemiel,
Zahariel? His brother.
Zahariel, yes. And sneak attack, use his special card. That's a sneak attack card removal for 1 energy. In a pinch.
Yes, exactly. With Zahariel, it's hella good. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But since we're not all Zahariel, so yeah, okay. That's a good point. Good I have you here, man. I didn't really think about that because I'm not a big Defenders of Caliban player. Not gonna lie, I usually just use it to remove something for free. So yeah, it's better than Night Lords. It has more utility. We argued that Night Lords isn't pretty good because you need Mercy and Forgiveness, and it's not great on every Warlord. So here you mentioned the synergies you mentioned. I didn't really like the feel and like, okay, I just said buffing after using the counterattack. So yeah, let's put it in pretty good, I guess. There's some utility to it. I see. Next one, our beloved, the Knights. Dude, this one is overtuned, isn't it?
It is. It should just give you plasma. The fact that
Yeah.
it heals one and gives you plasma is a bit much.
Yeah, that's a bit too much. Like, of course, and also you need to keep in mind that the heal on your warlord is doubled or tripled in value because you simultaneously heal your weapons.
Hmm.
It's not just heal 1 to your warlord, it's also heal 1 to your weapons. And you also get 1 plasma. Fuck, man. One of the most obnoxious factions also has like this counterattack. It's the same reasoning as with Orphans of War. It's even, I don't know, it's the best. Or
Yeah.
no, not quite, but I don't know. Iron Voice is still my favorite, I think. But this one is just fucking overtuned. I don't know. It should either just heal 2 to your warlord, like where Space Wolf's one should be, or give 1 plasma. But
I'd
doing
even be okay
both,
if it just gave 2 plasma. If it just gave 2 plasma and that's all
no,
it did, I'd be okay with
I
that.
guess, yeah.
It'd be too
Or
much. I mean, I'm wrong, but I mean, I take it over the 1 and the 1. Just
or it would have some synergy with House Veroni if you act again, like reduce the cost of one of your weapons by 1 this turn, and if you're playing something like Bolt Cannon, which can act again, if no one plays that, but just an example, it can act multiple times, or again House Veroni, if you're acting multiple times with weapon, it would have some synergy, and it wouldn't be so fucking busted. Like, heal 1 isn't much on your warlord, but you heal three things at once, which you want to keep healed, and you also get your stupid secondary resource. Fuck that. And most of the knights are also low initiative, except the Cerestus chassis. So you're almost guaranteed to get it most of the time. Fuck that. It's too good. And an already busted faction. So yeah, it's hella good. And I don't think we can argue here. Alright, and now the neutrals. Then we got Imperial Army. You put in play a 1/1 armsman with frontline for 0 energy. Pretty good.
I think it's pretty good.
Even hella good. I don't know.
I really like the way that it's, and they've got flank, so
yes. Flank and frontline,
they can help. Yeah, they can help deal with a troop that you need to deal with. That's a 3 health. They can deal with things, but then you've got the fact that you've got buffing and you've got frontline. You've got a faction that does both, or warlords that do both with that. And like Lucretia dump in a hand, several frontlines in the jump in that's annoying. You pop that in front of a creature of doom. That's free cultist action.
So many synergies, dude. And you can buff it. It interacts with your board. Usually when you play Swarm decks, you play Secretary Axiax, whatever. You mentioned Preacher of Doom, Slayer of Worlds sometimes even, or Blessing of the Four, and so on and so on and so on. It has so many synergies. It goes in line with 1 extra damage for 0 energy, which doesn't bypass frontline, but whatever. It also acts as a decoy. You can protect yourself in tough situations, so 1 more attack will go into it, most likely. I would put it in hella good. It has so many synergies, so much utility. It's definitely...
I've been playing Mossad all week, and I love it.
Yeah, it's a 2/2 in Mossad. Exactly.
Yep,
it's a 2/2 in Mossad. At least a 2/2. So flank, frontline, it has 2 keywords on 1. It's of course just a little guy, but you can do a lot with this little guy. You can promote him, if you know what I mean, yeah?
Give him a shiny medal, come on.
Yeah, exactly. So this goes in the S tier and hella good, in my opinion. It's not broken like fucking knights, but very, very good. Very good. And we saw it in Lucretia, and it didn't really matter that Lucretia went second because she would be able to swing the board in her favor anyway, turn 1 onwards, and then just snowball out of control as usual. Castrak, Dracnian, again, so many synergies.
Yes. Yeah.
Alright, next one is the Mechanicum, and they just have fill 1 energy. So an energy cheat, but kind of a bad one. Well, not bad, but I don't know.
It's most useful in Proctor, which nobody plays enough of.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a bad counterattack, but for what the faction and what the warlords do, it doesn't really. I mean, Scoria is already refilling 2 energy.
It's fluffy.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, it's I don't know if I should even put it in solid. Energy cheats are usually better when you can play something ahead on curve. So like,
yeah, I feel bad putting it in meh, but at the same time, the only time I really get the most out of it is with Proctor, and that just feels like that can't be solid. You could argue if you play like Merit's Mercs and you play that, but then you could play Merit's Mercs in anything and play a 0 counterattack. So that doesn't
exactly. Yeah, I don't know. There aren't any particular great synergies. Maybe just with, again, Decima, who refills energy on his own passively when you play something, so you can kind of play something head on curve, because if you play Decima, you want to play on 1 maintenance, so play your troops for, like, 4 energy, you play something for 3 energy, so you can use your ability. Here you kind of get an energy cheat in that meta, but, dude, I don't know. It simply wouldn't be fair, I think, because it's, look, Ultramarines is here. I would put it in mass, simply, it wouldn't be fair, you know? It's just a bad energy cheat. Like, not bad per se, but I don't know. Like, this helps trigger perfection. This will help you use your ability one more time. Death Guard is certainly the worst out of these 3, but it has its tendency to solid, but we have better energy cheats up here, like Word Bearers and Elf Legion and Dark Angels are certainly better at Legios too. So yeah, because you get to, I think it's more valuable to play stuff ahead on curve. That's the counterattack is supposed to do, like give you an advantage for 1 turn. Yeah, this one doesn't do that. Well, not always. Let's put it like that. All right, and the last faction, it's of course Chaos. It's also fluffy. It's random, and it lowers the cost of 1 card in your hand by 1.
By tech definition, it could be meh because it's not as good as all these other cost reductions that we've got in Solid.
Yeah,
but it's trash because the only it's random. It's and if you've got your opening hand, you're like, okay, that's not going to pay off. It's not going to be useful. It's not the card I want. The only reason it's this power level is because at the time Canis Vertex was going to have it. Canis Vertex can still have it, obviously,
and it would always fucking hit the belt on turn 1. Yeah. Always, I remember that.
So it's just going to happen. But I don't feel like it's trash. But I don't feel like it's meh. Like I feel like it's just
something in between. It's something in between. I would argue to put it in trash because if we have the Traitor Legios in trash,
I'm okay with it being.
Yeah, well, you know why? Because sometimes you can't really play it because if you play something like Drilling Site, and sometimes it won't do anything. Yes, it will always reduce the cost, but then you will just play the card at some point and it doesn't matter because you will have 1 energy left and can't do anything with it. And the cost reduction didn't matter. Often it is that it doesn't do anything and it's random as fuck. You can't predict what's going to happen. Sure, it's so chaotic and random funny. It's not as bad as Salamanders. So yeah, as you said, it's kind of like between meh and trash. If Canis would still be popular, I would put it in meh. That will be argued because it's good on him. You know, but
it's okay in captured Mandragorax.
It's not.
You know, but then I also play a bunch of tactics, but it's not great.
It's not because you're running Drilling Site and captured Mandragorax.
Well, then
you have to wait. Like, if you have something like Drilling Site in your hand, you have to wait until you use the Drilling Sites.
Correct.
You can't reuse that because this can hit the Drilling Site and then it's not going to do anything. So, by the time you use the Drilling Site, your hand is empty and it doesn't matter that you use the cost. So yeah, it's trash. Yeah. It's trash. Let's argue. Let's not argue.
I'm not going to argue. I'm okay with it. I just want to say, as far as trash goes, I would put it at the top of the trash bin.
Yes.
But it's still
like this, and here it's like this.
There we go.
Yeah, and here that's pretty even, I guess.
Yeah, I think those are all kind of around the crux.
Yeah, here it doesn't matter. Here it's solid. That's all. Okay, and that's about it. Here we go. That's our tier list for the counterattacks. So definitely some which are somewhat underwhelming. Death Guard feels bad because they're also a slow faction. Yeah, Emperor's Children feels bad because it's the only one who doesn't cost anything. These are counter-synergetic or random as fuck. No bueno. I think solid and pretty good can stay as they are. These are some of them, are just for fluff reasons there, but whatever. It's a fluffy game after all. There are a lot of things in the game which are there, not because it's good for the game, but because it fits the Legion lore-wise. And hella good. Oh yeah, you sometimes have to think how to use them. There's fairly situational sometimes. Some of them are just overtuned or have very, very good synergies with the Legion. And yeah, that's about it. So, SkuffD, thanks a lot for coming. Guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video. And of course, if this video is here to spark a little discussion if you so want. So feel free to leave a comment on maybe we missed something, maybe you disagree with something. And don't leave comments like that. You have to agree with me, okay? That's my channel. You can argue on Discord. Go to Discord, argue there. Anyway, SkuffD, thanks again for coming.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And I hope to see you guys around in the next video. Midnight out.